Good morning to all attendees. I hope you're all well. I'd just like to welcome you to the Research Capacity Development Units at the University of Johannesburg's workshop on topic research and paragraph development. My name is Dr. Lorenzo David, and I will be your facilitator for today. I'd firstly like to start off by thanking all of our attendees for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate the effort in you attending. So before I introduce myself further, I'd like to please go over a few housekeeping rules and some important information. So for the housekeeping rules, if you do have questions during the presentations, please raise your hand if you would like to speak, or you can alternatively, you could type out your question into the chat box. As the presenter myself, I do not have an issue with anyone having a question, just simply interjecting at any point. If you have a burning question and you need to ask it on that slide, please, I encourage questions. I would like this to be as much of an interactive session as possible. Just for our information, the session is being recorded and the presentation slides will be requested from the presenter, that being myself. Both of these will be uploaded to the Moodle communities by the end of the week. A feedback survey will also be sent out during the session in the chat section. We would like to please request for you to please fill this out for us to gain insight on whether this workshop was useful and how we can improve this in the future. In addition, it allows us to provide kind words to the facilitator for their hard work. This will also be used for the facilitators in RCD's reporting. By filling out the survey, this also ensures you receive a certificate of attendance via our RCD management system, which is currently being linked to your link. So I'm just going to share my slides. Thank you. Apologies for the delay. We're just having a technical difficulty with bringing up the slides. We'll begin shortly. Once again, we apologize for any inconvenience caused. Thank you very much. Good morning once again. We'd just like an indication if my slides are visible. I'll put it up in presenter mode now. Just an indication, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Just to confirm, if someone could please give a thumbs up if the slides are visible. We are currently sharing. Just an indication would be appreciated so we can continue with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lorenzo, we cannot see your slides.
Okay, thank you for that. We're just going to try and fix this quickly. Once again, we apologize for any inconvenience. We'll begin as soon as possible. Thank you.
We can see the slides now, but they're just not on presentation mode.
Thank you very much. I'll switch to presentation mode now. Okay, thank you once again, and thank you for bearing with us during our technical difficulties. We appreciate your patience. So my name is Dr. Lorenzo David. Just a short bio on myself. I graduated from the University of KwaZulu-Natal with my PhD in biochemistry. My research briefly
Yes, the slides are on presentation mode now. We can see.
You can see. Okay, thank you. My research focused on the development of an anti-cancer drug delivery system using bimetallic nanoparticles. So any questions that you have, once again, please feel free. I would love this to be an interactive session and for you guys to gain as much as possible from this session. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and thank the RCD unit for organizing this workshop. It is important, and I feel it is important for me to highlight the importance of these workshops and how valuable they are as a tool in our research journey and development. These tools were not necessarily available to us when speaking from personal capacity when I was on my PhD journey. So the fact that the University of Johannesburg is embarking on this is absolutely fantastic, and I encourage each and every one of you to attend as many of these sessions as possible. They are highly valuable, and they will be to your benefit. So once again, if we can briefly speak about the topic is for today's workshop is going to be topic research questions, and paragraph development. We're going to speak on these individually, and if you have any questions, please feel free to interject at any point during my presentation. Okay, so okay, just a brief outline on today's presentation. We're going to be covering topic selection, research questions, paragraph development, and at the end we have some time scheduled for any questions and contributions from all attendees. So, starting off with topic selection. The big question, how do I decide on a topic? Now, at the start of your master's or PhD, this can be a very daunting question to ask yourself because it is the fields that we study is so broad. And I want us to focus on the diagram that we have up on the slide. It's basically a diagram of a funnel, and we see a lot of information going into it. And throughout our journey of writing a proposal, writing a thesis, what we are actually doing is filtering out all of the information that we're reading and funneling it down into a concise construct. So in order for us, firstly, to be able to decide on a topic, we need to identify an interesting and appropriate theme. Now, this is going to be a broad area of study. So if you think about this, why does the topic need to be interesting? I know many of us would understand this already, especially if you've been through your master's, but a master's and PhD journey is not an easy one. And there will be some days which are more difficult than others. Choosing an interesting topic that is obviously of personal interest to you, that drives you, that motivates you, will help you get through the days where it's a bit more difficult to get up and get to the lab or get to our research group. With regards to appropriate theme, this is obviously going to be governed by the research group or the lab that we are going to be joining. So for example, if I look in from a personal point of view, when I was choosing my appropriate theme, I first identified the lab that I was going to be joining and looked at what research they focused on. And that gave me a broad idea of what I can study. For example, drug delivery, anti-cancer research, and so on. So we need to ask ourselves, why does this area interest you? And it's a very personal question, and it's something that each of us should think about quite deeply. I also want to point out, why do you feel this is important to investigate? Because we do not want to be, I would use, for lack of a better word, stuck in a research project where we do not see what are the real world applications or what does this actually bring to the field. We all want our work to be of value. We all want our work to make a difference. And therefore, it's important for us to have an understanding of why it is important to investigate this specific topic. Furthermore, we can speak about how has this theme been addressed in the literature previously. And you can see in the presentation slides here, we say read, read, read. So in the beginning stages of any master's, PhD, honors, or postgraduate studies, postdoc, whatever it may be, it involves a lot of reading. And this is something that we're going to have to get used to. And obviously, many of you, I'm sure, already do this quite a lot. Read as widely as you can. Read good journals, read, and it also helps with your writing as well. So the more we read, the greater our foundation, the greater our understanding of the broad topic is going to be. And it allows us to further identify, as we'll discuss later on, how to identify problems within a specific topic, how to formulate research questions, and so on. So, how do I decide on a topic? And we're just going to continue on this here. So now that we have a broad understanding of the general field, we now need to focus on a particular topic within that theme. We need to ask ourselves, what specific issues within that broad theme do you want to investigate? Again, what is of personal interest to you? What aligns with your research group or your lab? And why do you want to investigate it? You'll notice that I'm repeating these questions because I want to highlight the importance of them in any research journey. So firstly, we need to identify and thereafter focus on a problem within that topic. So we need to try to address a problem, either a gap in the literature or an ambiguity that you have discovered. So if I could quickly go back to this previous slide here. I think it's important for us to highlight that in order for you to identify a problem within a specific topic, we need to have a good, solid foundation of that topic. And the only way we're going to achieve this is through reading as widely as possible. By reading as widely as possible and critically analyzing what we're reading, it makes it much easier for us to identify problems, gaps in the literature, or ambiguities which have not been previously discussed or previously researched. And this gives us sort of like a pathway into the future to our topic selection. So we can ask ourselves, where exactly can I find the theme? And I want to highlight to us that there are various sources where we can identify a theme to investigate. I want you to keep in mind that you come into this research project with an accumulated wealth of knowledge and skills. So lean on your skills, lean on your experience, and obviously with the direction of your supervisor, with the direction of your lab or your research group, you will be able to successfully identify a theme. Some of the places in which we can further identify themes would be obviously our coursework. So if we, throughout our undergrad journey, we've been exposed to various pieces of work, various areas of research, and if there was a particular area of research that interested you or something that you were thinking about at that stage, you could always use that as a guide or a framework to obviously build further within your theme. Once again, we mentioned the literature, which is a very important source in order for us to identify a theme. By reading as widely as possible, we're able to get as much of a better foundation, and obviously allows us to identify areas of need. An existing research project. It depends on the structure of your research group or your lab, but generally speaking, certain labs will have an overarching project in which masters and PhDs will be studying a subsection of that. Now, this has its pros and cons as well. So that's up to you and obviously your research group as well. And as we've mentioned previously, rely on your personal experience. Rely on what interests you and what you would like to investigate. Because if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And research is a love for most of us, as I would imagine. So choose something that you love doing, choose something that's interesting to you, and it's going to help construct your research topic. So again, please, if there's any questions or anyone has anything that you would like to add to this presentation, please feel free to interject at any time. I am in presenter mode, so I can't see if any hands are raised. So I'd appreciate it if this could be as interactive as possible. Okay, so now we move on to the next slide, and it's labeled as how do I identify a problem? So I've gone through, I've refined my broader search. I understand what is the broad theme that I'm going to be studying. I understand I've refined it down further into what my topic is going to be. In order for us, obviously, to pursue a master's or a PhD, we need to be researching a particular problem or a limitation that we're finding within that specific research area. So the identified topic within the broader theme must focus on a problem. And in order for us to identify a problem, we first need to have a solid understanding of the topic. I have the silly example which comes to mind is if you hand a phone to someone, a cell phone to someone who's never used a phone before, and this phone has all the capabilities of chat, instant messaging, as well as using the camera, as well as receiving and making calls. If that phone is faulty and they are only able to make and receive calls because they don't have a solid understanding of what the capabilities are of that particular device, they will not be able to identify the problems with it. So in a similar sense, in order for us to identify any problem within our research area, we first need to have a solid understanding of the topic, and that comes with, again, reading as widely as possible. So as we funnel down and refine our ideas, it becomes easier to identify a problem within the research topic. And at the beginning, I can understand that this may seem like a huge obstacle to overcome, and there's hundreds of thoughts running through your mind, hundreds of questions running through your mind at any one point, but we take it one step at a time. When it comes to research, we take it one day at a time. And as we read, we expand our knowledge, our understanding grows, and therefore we can critically analyze what we're reading and obviously come up with an appropriate problem for our specific research topic. So your thesis will obviously try to address that specific problem. We understand that there may be tens or hundreds of problems within a specific research area. You are going to address a single one. We need to keep in mind that not all problems are researchable. That could be due to various factors, maybe limitations in what equipment we have, funding, or it may be that the technology that we have currently just cannot meet the demand of trying to research a particular area. But we keep trying, we do our best, and we still continue to read as much as possible. By doing so, it helps us to identify a problem which is in a particular research area and allows us to obviously move forward with our research.
Sorry, Dr. David, to interrupt you. Your mic went on mute on the last slide. So we didn't quite catch the rest of that.
Apologies for that. I'm not sure what's happening with the laptop, but I will re-go through that slide again. Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me once again. I apologize for the technical difficulties that we're facing. So, as I was saying, we have identified the broader theme, we've identified our topic, we've come up with a problem within it. What are going to be the next steps? So it always helps us to have a goal or something to work towards. Obviously, that makes sense. So it says it helps to formulate the problem as a question, as this forces you to answer the question. So we're going to contextualize the problem that we have in the form of a research question. And obviously, this allows us a tangible target that we can aim towards and obviously answer. So I just want to check at this point, are there any questions or any queries? Anyone would like to say anything? Please feel free. Okay, I think everyone is okay. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next section if there aren't any questions. Again, if you don't feel comfortable speaking on mic and you'd like to type out a question or query or just discuss something that I've said, please feel free to use the chat facility as well. So, focusing on our research questions, I think it's important for us to first understand the difference between aims and objectives. This is something that many of us would have come across throughout our research journey, but just as a quick recap, in terms of an aim, it is going to be a broad point on why we are conducting this research project. What are we hoping to achieve? Versus your objective, which is going to be through addressing the objectives, we can thereafter reach the aim of the research quest, or the research rather. Okay, so the objectives will allow us to explore, to investigate, to analyze, to determine, interpret, understand, evaluate, assess, etc. So just keep in mind what our aims and objectives and the difference between them and how they help us to answer our overall research question. In terms of a research question defines the primary objective of your work and is one of the most important components of your paper. Now, we understand that we will have a primary or a main research question, and this will give rise to sub-research questions. These sub-research questions will ask things such as what, how, and why. The sub-research questions, or the different parts of your research that you're going to undertake, will help you to confirm as well as answer your primary research question. So at this stage, are there any questions? Is everyone with me? I hope I haven't lost anyone.
Doc, your slide is not visible.
It's not visible.
Yes.
Okay, it's
Can
is this
someone else
okay?
confirm that, because I am visible, the slides are visible to me.
Yes, I can see as well.
Okay,
I can see the slide as well.
I think
okay.
he's asking you to put it on presentation mode rather than on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so on my system, it's showing in presentation mode. Let me just check this here. Okay, are we good? Is it back in presentation mode?
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So when it comes to research questions, basically we're saying we need to understand the difference between aims and objectives just to give us a better idea. Again, we'll say a research question defines what the primary objective of your work is going to be. What's the main goal? What is our target for our research? And is one of the most important components of your paper. Our main research question will give rise to sub-research questions or smaller sections of research, which will ask the questions such as what, how, and why. Okay. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our second section. We're actually moving through this quite quickly. At this stage, if there's any questions, once again, I'd like to encourage you to please, put your hand up or even just interject at any stage. Or if you'd like me to go back to any previous slides and maybe explain something in greater detail, that would be fine as well. So I'll just give you a minute or even 30 seconds. If anyone has any questions, you can pop it in the chat box. And if after 30 seconds we don't have anything, then we'll continue to move on to paragraph development.
Hi, Prof.
It's actually Doctor, sorry, not
Doctor. Okay,
not
sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I just want to find out what would be the best guide in terms of how many research questions can you have, sort of a research question and sub questions.
That's a very interesting question. Well, I think I wouldn't say it's individual. I would say look at your research questions and see how well they actually answer your sub questions and see how well they answer your primary or your main research question. You want to basically investigate all different aspects within your research topic to give yourself the best answer or the most solid research and results in order to answer your main question. So I would say, and this is just from personal experience, when I had my primary research question, I had between 4 to 5 sub-questions below that. So this may vary between obviously research groups and labs, But again, you can look at your sub-research questions, you can critically analyze them and see, does this fully answer and does this provide sufficient evidence to confirm that I'm answering my main research question? And that's what it's about as well. We need to also take into account that you are embarking on a new research journey. This has not been done by anyone before. So while you can use guidance from other research projects and obviously what we're reading online, you also need to, at every stage of your development, whether it's from writing your proposal, writing your thesis, being involved in lab work or your research group, you need to critically analyze at every point and try to find flaws or weaknesses within your own research. Because obviously research is about questioning obviously a particular topic. We don't want to just say that, this particular topic is fantastic and that it works without critically analyzing our research and seeing if it's actually doing justice to our primary research question. So for example, we can use another silly example, right? If we are testing out in terms of biology, if we're testing out, is chlorophyll necessary for plants to photosynthesize? Okay, it can't just be a yes or no question. We will need to develop sub-questions in order to obviously answer that. So we can develop sub-questions such as, how does light affect obviously the production of food for plants? How does limiting other factors or nutrients affect the production of obviously food for plants? So I know it's digressing a bit there, and I apologize for that, but I'm just trying to draw the point to you that we need to always be critically analyzing our work, critically analyzing our research questions, and remember that this process of writing a proposal, it's not something that you can just do within a week or a month and then never touch it again. For those of us who have been through obviously honors, masters, and for those of us now who's in PhD, we'll understand that research is not linear. It's never going to be that you're going to write out a proposal and that's going to be your proposal right to the end of your master's or your PhD. It has to continually evolve. It has to continually change because obviously the research changes, the information that we're working with changes, as well as our perspective on our research is going to change. The more that we read, the more that we understand, we may get a different perspective, which may question what we were thinking in the beginning. We need to be brave enough to be able to put this in other words, we need to be brave enough to question our own work and understand that no one is perfect. Research is something that evolves. Research is something that changes. As long as we're staying on, obviously, the same track, we're trying to answer the same research question, we need to be open to the fact that our ideas may change, and obviously that's going to affect our research as well. So I'd encourage you not to be discouraged if you have to change your research proposal, or research question multiple times. What you're trying to do is give yourself the best possible chance of coming up with a good thesis at the end of your research. Sorry, is there a question?
Yes, Doc. I just wanted to ask, is 10 research questions and research objectives too much?
Like I said, it would depend on your specific project. So if those research questions are obviously all, if they all are helping towards solidifying your research towards the end, for example, if I look at my own research and if I said I want to test, my research question is that a metallic nanoparticle will improve anti-cancer drug delivery, right? Or will my metallic nanoparticle improve anti-cancer drug delivery? My sub-research questions can be 5, it can be 10. So I don't think it's too much, but I think that you just need to make sure that the questions are, to use the word necessary, that they all add value to your primary research question. So if you see that, you know what, these 10 sub questions that I have all add value and allow my main research question to be answered in a way that is in a stronger position, then I would say go for it. But I also wouldn't say warn, but I also advise each of us to also be mindful of the fact that we have a limited time in order to complete our degrees. So if you have, now this is completely based on the individual and their work ethic and how much of hours you're going to be putting into your research. If you have 10 questions, I think that's actually fantastic. If you have 10 points that you want to investigate, that is something that's fantastic. We just need to keep in mind that we are each given a specific period of time, be it 2 years or 3 years for masters, anywhere between 3 to 6 years, in some cases 7 years for your PhD. We need to be able to complete this research within this, obviously, this minimum and maximum time frame. So use that to guide you, and obviously lean heavily on your supervisors. I would really advise that you also lean heavily on your supervisors. Speak to your colleagues who have been in the lab setting and that specific lab for longer than you, because they will have an understanding of the methodology that you're using and how long it's going to take you in order to obviously run certain experiments or perform certain tasks, and let that guide you. So like I'm saying, if you have, let's just say you have 20 research questions at the beginning of your PhD and you're really passionate about this and you want to answer these 20 questions. Maybe by the time you reach halfway through your PhD, after reading more widely, you understand that, you know what, maybe 5 of these questions aren't necessarily vital. They don't really add as much as the other 15 questions. So let me focus on the 15 questions and sub-research questions and allow it to produce a stronger thesis. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Dr. David, can I just interject 1 second?
Yes, no
In
problem.
relation to that question, just because I know the different faculties within UJ have different rules. So
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure which faculty the speaker is, but with regarding to like maybe education and science, they are usually advised for 5 research questions. But like Dr. David said, it's always dependent on your supervisor's final say. So even though you'll start off with 10 questions, they will reduce it to 5. They'll make it more concise because you may be repeating yourself within the questions, whereas you can just put it into one question, if that makes sense. So not to stress, your supervisor will advise you based on your faculty requirements. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, Dr. Chandray. Okay, so is everyone okay? Can we move on to the next section on paragraph development? Okay. Thank you. So, by the end of this short section, we would like you to be able to demonstrate an ability to identify the elements of a paragraph, identify the structure within a paragraph, understand how to craft a good paragraph, and know how to provide a logical flow to paragraphs, which obviously improves our readability and obviously our ability to translate our story to as many people as possible. Okay, so some of the essentials of academic writing. We understand that academic writing generally, as with most writing, involves an introduction where we're introducing a particular topic, research question, the main body of text, which is made up of several paragraphs, which are obviously going to provide the meat or provide the answers to our research question, and a conclusion section, which is obviously going to conclude and wrap up and tie up any loose ends to improve our understanding. Now, this is pretty straightforward to us, but what I want us to understand is that it is important for us to first perform a task analysis. Now, the writing process itself, I understand that we have deadlines, and I understand that each of us are under different pressures, but if we just start writing without any proper guidance, it's going to make our journey much more difficult. So that's why it is recommended to always have a task analysis. So basically a framework or a structure which asks the questions, what am I required to do? What does this piece of writing expect of me, and what are the different components that's going to be involved in it? So we come up with this framework, and therefore it better allows us to discuss in terms of our introduction, our main text, as well as our conclusion. So by reading, many of us will have an understanding, obviously all of us would have an understanding of a paragraph, but what I would like to highlight and maybe just remind all of us is that within a paragraph itself, it is structured. A paragraph needs to have structure in order to better translate the information that's within our head to the readers. Because at the end of the day, when we are writing anything, say an academic material, a thesis, a paper, or a proposal, we know that we have the knowledge inside of us. We know that the knowledge is in our head. It's how well we're able to translate that into the form of a story, which allows other people to be able to understand what's going on. So structure in terms of paragraph is very important, and we're going to go through that in the following slides. Okay, so dealing with the structure of a paragraph, paragraphs in the main body of your assignment will usually contain a number of sentences which can do one of two things. They can develop new ideas, or they can expand upon existing ones. So we can identify this, right? It says you may also need to construct paragraphs which offer contrasting views on the ideas that you've already developed. This is important because once again, we want to be critical of our own research. If we are critical as much as possible in our own research, it leaves less room for others to question the validity of our work. Importantly, a succession of well-structured paragraphs can help to create a coherent, well-reasoned and structured argument. We can put this in terms of a conversation. If you are conversing with your friend and they're jumping from one topic to the next, it's very difficult for us to be able to follow what their main point is going to be. But if you're having a discussion with your friend and they start off by saying, you know what, I've had a really tough day. Why have you had a tough day? You know, A, B, and C happened. My car wasn't starting in the morning. We didn't have water. We didn't have lights. And they go on in that sort of structure. We understand the flow. They have a problem. This is the reasons for the problem. And this is what the outcome is going to be as well. So whenever we're reading and whenever we're writing, as much as we want to, rather whenever we're writing, as much as we want to put as much information as possible, it is also important for us to be concise and to have structure within our paragraphs. Understand what is it that I'm trying to say, what is the main point of this specific paragraph. And then you build on that. You will, and we'll see in the next few slides how exactly we go through doing this. So a paragraph should not be too long, nor should be too short. So in terms of this, it's always good to break up your writing into bite-sized chunks because it allows for the reader to obviously read what you're writing, digest, analyze, and obviously have a better understanding. So if you had ever been to, let's say, a presentation where the speaker is talking for 2.5 hours, it may be the most important, or it may be the most fascinating topic that you have ever come across. But there's only so much of information that your brain can process at any given time. If, for example, the speaker went and broke up his talk in a series of 20-minute lectures, shall we say, with 5-minute intervals in between, I would bet that your level of understanding of the topic would be increased exponentially. So in the same way, a paragraph should not be too long or too short. We should discuss a single idea at a time, expand on it as well as possible, and either conclude upon that idea or build up onto the next paragraph. So again, we need to have a purpose for each paragraph that we're writing. It needs to add to obviously our proposal or our thesis. We need to consider the purpose of each paragraph. Firstly, is it going to be developing a new idea? If it is developing a new idea, we need to introduce the idea and thereafter we need to expand upon it. Or is this specific paragraph expanding on an idea that has already been mentioned? Or is it offering a contrasting view on an idea which already has been mentioned previously? In which case we will have to obviously try and find a way to link these two paragraphs together. So this next slide deals with the PEE approach. And after coming across this from one of my colleagues in the RCD unit, Dr. Kenny, I find this very useful and I thought it would be very important to speak about this. So PEE obviously stands for point. What is the point? Where is the evidence? And what is the explanation of the evidence? So obviously, we don't just want to gather information that is already present and available on the web and put it into our proposal without giving adding our own thoughts into that particular evidence. That's what research is about, right? It's about absorbing as much information as you can and trying to explain what your thoughts are on that particular piece of research, piece of evidence, whatever else it may be. Okay, so I just want something. So we're gonna quickly speak about the structure of the paragraph in a bit of greater detail, and then we'll move on to the PE in greater detail as well. So in terms of the structure of a paragraph, we will have an introductory sentence, which is sometimes called a topic sentence. Obviously, this is important because it tells the reader the purpose of your paragraph, as well as introduces the main idea you are developing, expanding upon, or alternatively, contrasting with another. So the way you are trying to explain your thoughts and your research to someone without there being any response or without there being an opportunity for them to ask questions. So you need to fill the position from both sides. You need to get across what you need to say, but also look at it from the point of the reader. And is this clear? Is this concise? Is this telling a story which is easy to be followed? After having an introductory sentence, right, or a topic sentence, we then often need to provide examples, evidence, or quotations. So you will usually need to include evidence that either develops, supports, or contrasts an idea. This informs and strengthens your argument, and it's important for you to try and introduce your evidence clearly and remember to always provide in-text and end-of-text references. Obviously, in scientific writing, in many forms of academic writing, it is important for us to provide references because, firstly, many of the ideas that we're getting are not solely our own. We may have read something in a paper years ago that has stuck with us, and now we're presenting it as our own idea. So in order for us to have, for example, evidence, examples, or quotations, it is important for us to provide in-text and in-text references to strengthen our claims. The next section is going to be evaluative sentences. Now it says, you may need to offer an explanation on the relevance of your examples, evidence, or quotations. You need to ask yourself, why is this evidence useful? What does the author say that supports the idea that you're developing? And does this evidence have any limitations? Now, coming back to this point here, it is the easy part, should I say, or the simpler part would be finding information. Because of the internet today, we have access to so many different websites, so many different libraries, so many journals, that information is not limited in any way, shape, or form. But what is important is your evaluation and what's your understanding and interpretation of that particular information. How you break it down, how you analyze it, and how you use it to identify or to answer your research questions is what is going to solidify and obviously strengthen your proposal. To end, obviously, the structure of a paragraph, there will be a concluding sentence, and the aim of a concluding sentence is to draw together the main ideas being made in your paragraph. So if we go through this step by step, we can say step one is that we introduce our point. So we use an introductory sentence. Once again, this is going to tell the reader the purpose of your paragraph, as well as introducing the main idea that you're going to be developing, expanding upon, or contrasting with another. We use an example like this. If you're walking through campus and someone randomly comes up to you and starts talking, about something, a random topic, they have not introduced, firstly, themselves. They have not introduced what the topic that they are going to be speaking about. They're not saying, in terms of it's so hot today or anything dealing with that, an example such as that. So in the same way, when we are writing, we need to firstly introduce our topic, and it obviously gives the reader an indication of what's to follow within the paragraphs. Step two is going to be provide your evidence. So this can be your examples, your evidence, or your quotations that we have got from journals, from books, etc. You will usually need to include evidence that supports or contrasts an idea, and it depends obviously on your what you're hoping to achieve in this particular paragraph, and this informs and strengthens your argument. We need to try and introduce your evidence clearly and remember to reference the source either as a citation in the body of your text or as a footnote or endnote. From a personal point of view, I can't stress the importance enough of citing your work. Not only is it the ethical thing to do, because if an idea is not yours, we cannot present it as being our own, but it also strengthens your writing, because someone who's reading it will be able to see the references and understand, you know what, this particular individual who is writing his thesis has read widely due to the number of references that I can see that are present within their text. Now, I'm not saying go and just add references for no reason. What I'm saying is that when you are obviously writing, always reference work. It's very important, and it's going to strengthen your research as well. Step three is where it gets a bit more technical. And this way it involves us to think. So we need to be able to generate our explanation. So what does this mean? We have introduced the topic and we've provided the evidence for the topic. We then need to go on to the next step, which is going to be, what is our understanding and interpretation of what we've just stated? So we can look here, it's explanatory, evaluative sentences, right, which is going to further evaluate and explain what our points in the paragraph are going to contain. It will provide some explanation on the relevance of your examples, evidence, or quotations. Why exactly have you used this evidence? Why is it useful? What does the author say that supports the idea that you're developing? Does this evidence have any limitations? Once again, it is important to critically analyze our writing as well as our explanations. And finally, we come to step 4, which is conclude or provide a glimpse into the next paragraph. If your main question for that paragraph has been answered, then we can conclude. But if we want to link up, obviously, 2 paragraphs, if an idea from one paragraph is going to flow into the next, then we need to provide a glimpse into the next paragraph. This basically is going to draw together the main ideas being made within your paragraph, etc. So if we quickly go back, we introduce your point. You will provide your evidence that you have found in the literature. You will generate your explanation based on your understanding and your reading. And thereafter, we're going to conclude drawing together the main ideas being made within our paragraph. So I seem to have moved through these slides quite quickly, much quicker than I had anticipated. So are there any questions at this stage, or is anyone unclear on anything that we've discussed so far? Please feel free to interject. Okay, I guess not. So we'll just move on. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. And I just want to quickly take us to this website. Okay, and I'll start sharing my screen once again. Okay, can we see the screen? Is it being shared? Okay, just a minute. Okay. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. I'm just going to quickly scroll down here. This is a really great example that once again I have borrowed from Dr. Kenny from the RCD unit. And I want us to look at this writing and see if we can identify, based on what we've just discussed, based on PEE, point evidence explanation, and see how we can improve this. Okay, it's done for us, but let's look at this example. So it says, let's look at this example kindly lent from a student's early draft of a proposal. Okay, the student just starts off in saying the goal of ODL is to widen participation and to overcome geographical, social, and economic barriers. What they've done very well is that they have reference. I would prefer the reference to be towards the end of the sentence so it doesn't break up, but okay. So it says the goal of ODL is to widen participation and to overcome geographical, social, and economic barriers to education. Learners experience isolation due to separation from the institution, lecturers, and fellow students. So looking at this, do we think that this is going to be the point, the explanation, or the point, the evidence, or the explanation? If anyone wants to join in or take a guess. Okay, I guess not. So we said in order to construct a good paragraph, we should follow the methodology of PEE: point, evidence, explanation. What we see here is that while the student has referenced very widely, they've read very widely, and it seems to be written coherently, what they have not done is introduce the topic. So what we're reading here in the first draft of the student is actually the evidence. They're just coming and presenting what the evidence is on this particular topic without firstly introducing the topic. And obviously later on we'll see providing their own explanation on the specific topic as well. So if we can just look again, I'll give you guys like 10 seconds just to read through the first couple of sentences, and then we'll go down to the second draft and we see how the supervisor has amended this to improve readability. Let's give you a few seconds just to read through that. Okay. So just quickly going to scroll down. So we remember what we read previously, where it started off by saying the goal of ODL is to widen participation and to overcome geographical, social, and economic barriers to education. That was the evidence. They did not introduce the point. So the supervisor actually went in and just basically made some changes. So they're introducing the topic, which is online and distance learning, which is abbreviated as ODL, faces several key student-related challenges in addressing its central goal. So we see now we've gone from just providing the evidence to now introducing the topic and what a difference that makes in terms of the reader's understanding. Because to be honest with you, when I first read this paragraph here, I had no idea what ODL was. It may make sense, and I'm sure it did make sense to the writer, but in terms of the reader, we have no idea where they're starting off. So therefore, we highlight the importance of firstly introducing your topic, introducing your point in a few succinct lines. You can see in terms of the evidence, there are very little changes that the supervisor has made to this particular work. But if we go back to our presentation, we'll understand that it's made up of three components: point, evidence, and explanation. And I apologize for repeating myself so many times, but I just want to really highlight the importance of this and how it can help you in your writing journey. So we noticed that the writer provided the evidence. We have no issue with that. What they didn't do is introduce the topic, which the supervisor has done. And in the end, we don't just need evidence. While evidence is very important in what we, obviously, us trying to further explain a topic, you need to put some of your own understanding and some of your own insights into your writing as well. Because if we're just providing evidence, anyone can do that. Anyone can go and look on the web and come up with 10 or 20 different papers, good papers in which they can pull out bits and pieces and use to construct a paragraph. What makes this journey of master's and PhD unique is that we're not just searching for information. We need to analyze it, obviously, and explain it in a way that only we can. So we'll go on to say that, just to make this point, we can see here that the student has provided quite a lot of references, and he ends off the paragraph by saying, the greater the input to the provision of student support services, the greater the success rate. Now, if we had time to read through the entire paragraph, we'll notice that this does not conclude the paragraph in any way, shape, or form. It's ending on a cliffhanger. So moving down to this example, look at how the supervisor ends off the paragraph. They say, what all of this means for ODL institutions is that increasing student retention and success is a complex challenge with numerous variables. They're providing their own insights just like we are expected to provide our own insights. These authors, however, seem to be pointing to a need to begin with addressing student support, to decrease alienation and increase students' ability and willingness to invest in their education more meaningfully. So this is, I think it would be, I'll just go back to the topic here, and I will provide the link for this. It'll also be available in the slides, which should be up in a couple of days. But I would really suggest and encourage each and every one of you to read through this blog. I found it very informative myself, and I think that it'll be of great use to each of you if you have a few minutes just to read through it. Okay, we're just going to go back. Okay, I see we have a question before I go back to sharing. Okay. It says, please advise what is acceptable. Do I, as a PhD student, write as the researcher or the study as opposed to I? Okay, it's a good question. Whenever we're writing, personally, what I've always done is I would write it from in the third person in the form of the study. So I would say the study aims to address A, B, and C. The study has shown, or results from the study have shown, that greater levels of sunlight improve, sorry, I'm stuck on that example, but greater levels of sunlight improve plant food production. So personally, and from my experience, I would write it from the point of the study, and obviously always write it in the third person as well. I hope that answers your question. Okay, I'm just going to share my slides for the last time. We're almost done, so just bear with me. I think it's just, yeah, the last slide. I'll put it onto presenter mode. Let's just minimize there. Okay. Once again, this is an exercise that I would encourage each of you to attempt. Remember, no one wakes up one day and just becomes good at writing. It is a continual process like everything else in life. We need to keep at it. And if I look back at my own experience, I still don't consider myself to be an excellent writer. There are fantastic writers out there who, when you read their papers, you can understand everything. For me, it is still a lot of hard work. And you know what? If it is hard work for you as well, I don't want you to be discouraged, because it takes years and years and years for us to be able to write effectively and efficiently and to reduce the number of revisions that we're having. So always remember, throughout your writing process, enjoy it. It's also a journey. Every time you write something, you're improving your own skills. Every time you write something, you're going to be growing, and the next draft is going to be better than the previous draft. So when we look at our supervisors, sometimes we wonder, how is it possible for them to write this fantastic paper within the space of a few days, whereas it takes me maybe a couple of weeks or a month to write this paper? The reason is obviously they have the experience behind them. And the way we're going to get this here is by actively pursuing and practicing writing as much as possible. So I'd like us all to attempt this exercise. I don't expect you to do it now, but I would really encourage you to attempt this when you have, if you have a few minutes free. It says, I want you to write a paragraph where you detail one of the reasons necessary for crafting a clear research proposal. Okay, we can assume that you already have an introduction, but I would advise just an adaptation to this exercise would be we can even write a short introduction of our own. For the purpose of this exercise, please do not do it, and please do not do this anywhere else. It's important. Never come up with your own hypothetical evidence, statistics, examples, and authors, except in this exercise. So yeah, if you want as well too, I found it very helpful to sometimes when I have a paper that I find very interesting and that is related closely to my research, to basically read through it and try to summarize it in a paragraph. So read through it, write out what the aim, of what's our point, what's the evidence, what's the explanation. So if you don't want to come up with your own statistics, examples, and authors, you literally can just look at a paper and try to summarize the key points in the form of a paragraph, or the main crux of it, if you will. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. I apologize if it was a bit long, and I apologize once again for our technical difficulties, but thank you very much for your patience. We really appreciated having you here with us. I'm just going to leave the floor open to anyone who would like to ask a question. If you have any contributions, anything really that you want to say, it'll be greatly appreciated. So yeah, please use this opportunity. I would encourage you to use this opportunity. So I'll give you a few minutes. You can either type in the chat box or feel free to just speak up. That would be fine. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to come off so I can, I'm going to stop sharing so I can actually just see. Okay, oh, there's a few hands up. So I think Thompson, I think James was first. Sorry, Thompson. I think James's hand was up first. If I can just take his question first. Thank you. Hi, James. I think your mic muted. Oh, wait for James to sort out his mic. If you can please go ahead.
Did you say I should go ahead?
Yes. Yeah, yes, please, Thompson. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Mine is not a question. I just want to say thank you, especially for the PEE. I think that would be my motto as well. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that it's of some help. Thank you very much. Let me just unmute. I think I've actually see if I can mute James. You are unmuted, James. You just have to. You need to just click on the mic button and free up your mic. I haven't muted you from my side. Okay, it's fine, James. If the mic is not working, you can always send a message. We're happy to help. Are there any other questions, any other queries from anyone else while we wait for the message from James to come through? Okay, we'll just give James a minute to post his message. Okay, we got the message from James. It says, I like the point, access to experts is one of the motivation. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, I'd like to once again thank you guys for being fantastic. It was really a pleasure presenting to you. I hope you found this session informative. Please, my email address is present on the lecture slides. Please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions or contact RCD with any queries that you may have. Can I also please ask you all to fill out the feedback questionnaire? It is very important and it allows us to provide a better service to you. So it only takes literally 2 minutes. So if I could please encourage each and every one of you to fill out that feedback form as quickly as possible. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to end the session. Once again, thank you all for your attendance. It's greatly appreciated. And I hope that you guys attend more of these sessions. I'll highlight once again, they're very, very important, and they are a tool that's being offered by the university that is free. Firstly, you're not paying for it necessarily, and it's very valuable. I wish that I had the same support during my PhD and master's journey. So please take full advantage of this. Yeah. So I think there was someone typing a message. We'll just wait another 30 seconds.
Hello, Doc.
Hi, Adi.
I just wanted to ask, does the postgraduate center, do they assist PhDs and master's student research? Maybe you need some guidance, and do you come to the postgraduate center and there will be somebody to assist you, or it's specifically just your supervisor?
Yes, I think my colleague would be able to answer a bit better, but as far as I understand, yes, you can make an appointment with them at the postgraduate school, the writing center, and they would be able to assist you. I think the appointments are like for an hour at a time. So if you email RCD inquiries, we would be able to assist you further with that. So please, if any of you have any queries relating to well, anything really, the writing center or workshops that's going on, please feel free to contact us. We're here to help you, and yeah, we want to help you in every way that we can and make a difference. We have another question. Will the presentation be available? I logged in quite late. Yes, the presentation will be uploaded within a few days. So just be patient with us while we do that, but it will be uploaded and available on your sites. And I see Dr. Chandri Pillay has just posted the link for those who are interested in research writing consultations. So I really advise that you make full use of that as well. Okay, so if that's it, I'd like to end the session.
David.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add again that the writing consultants are the ones that are doing your writing sessions with you in September and October. So you guys will have your own special writing consultations with them. But yes, if you want to book with them separately, then this would be the link. They're usually quite booked up. So around this time because of thesis submission. So just tentatively book now. It'll secure your slot at least. Okay, that's it. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pillay. Thank you. So if there's no other questions, we'd like to end the session. Thank you all once again for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic day further. And I hope to see you guys
Thank you.
for the workshops. Thank you. Bye.